My dad and I did a film called The Challenge, and basically it's spiritual warfare in a Sandlot football game. We have God's team and we have the devil's team, and it's literally devils with horns and everything. God and the devil are watching the game, and basically it's God's team having to try all kinds of different things, and nothing quite works. And they're using scriptures, they're trying to do what God says, but they kind of keep getting beaten down by the devil team, to the point where finally they're so beaten down that, you know, next scene is a pep talk. In the pep talk, they do get some strength back, but there's still some confusion, and really the turning point is when, you know, they just follow God's command, you know, to if your enemy is thirsty, let them drink. They just go and bring that water to them. And the devil team rejects it, most of them, which often happens. Even when you're trying to help somebody, doesn't mean they'll take it, doesn't mean they'll accept it. I mean, a lot of the time they will, like, actively reject it, you know, which is what the devil team does, except for one guy who realizes that this, what I call spiritual water, is something special.
But give it a beat to sort of, for them to fall into their position fully.
I was very aware of the balance between trying to be a very responsible producer, director, get all the details done, get things resolved, and having to be very, very open to whatever God's will was in it. And the thing is, like, a lot of the time, you know, God likes to work when we're not so on top of things, you know. I mean, I've heard this for a lot of teams, but a lot of attacks would come in, or you'd gain people and you'd lose people, you know, you'd get resources, you'd lose resources. But God works through all of that, and what I found was, as much as I wanted to have people secured, you know, beforehand, and know that we had everything we needed, you know, sometimes we had to just trust that if we didn't have people yet, there was a reason for it.
And action. The devil team. Oh my God, really scary. Okay, Doug, team leader, decision.
Jeremiah! 48-6!
That means
flee for your lives!
Jump and go.
The camaraderie on the set, the joy, it was like more wonderful than I realized it could be. The cast. Doug, he'd actually done a romantic comedy I wrote earlier, so I was familiar with his work as an actor. And so I knew his quality, and I really like his quality, so I purposely wrote him into the script. Josh also, I'd seen his work as well and knew that he had a talent for comedy, and also a very committed actor, again. Kent Hamilton, the older devil team member, old friend of the family's. He did a production with my dad, like, I think 20 or more years ago. I don't even know if I was born yet. Ricky, again, great quality. My dad literally, like, saw him and cast him pretty much on sight. Jim Fulton, the guy who owned the location, he just, you know, he had to go around doing duties on other parts of his property, then he'd come over and reshoot. Kevin Boot, also on the devil team, he provided the equipment, which we were so grateful for. Jeremy Hoven, totally by accident, he came into a 168 mixer, but at one point they said, you know, can all the actors in the room stand up? He thought, well, I'm an actor, so he stood up. My dad saw him from across the room. Marcus Parker, one of the only people we cast from the actual auditions at 168. For the Devil Women, ended up just going with some of the women we had on set, which actually worked out perfectly. Yeah, so that's how the cast came together. It was this really hodgepodge kind of group of guys, but who something would have been missing if any one of them hadn't been there. They just each brought their own thing to it. Keith's talent is, I think there's a lot of things I could comment on, but he's very organized, he's very professional. He was very aware of what we had to get done, you know, each day, which was a lot, you know, and he was very good at kind of giving me his input, but still allowing me to have the authority. The music for the challenge, the score, was incredible, and Nick Lawrence was the composer. He was kind of my dream composer for this piece. I highlighted moments in the movie in a way that just brought it to life, this whole extra degree. He has such a gift for comedy. So looking for an editor, we had gotten those crew sheets from 168 that they hand out, and we saw this guy Dave Hewson on there, and both my dad and I don't know, we kind of felt good about calling him. He literally dedicated like that entire week. We were just crashing his house all hours of the day and night, and he was just like, come on in, let's do this stuff. Costumes. Cher Mason and her daughter Libby, the tails were such a big part of their characters, and even the way they walked. We wanted the tails to swish and just have that like sort of intimidation factor. And also because one of the key moments is when the tail drops on the ground. The fact that she'd done these so well, it again made that visual more powerful.
You know, did you see the little college silent film? Yes. Okay.
I've never worked with my dad this closely on a project. We were working so closely together and supporting each other in it, and it felt like tag teams sometimes. We've always been very, very close. But again, creatively, we've never quite been this close. And me getting to see this in my dad, this was amazing for me because I've never seen my dad direct film before. It's something we've now shared that we have for the rest of our lives. Sorry. But also, I think, as I said before, our prayer was that we would reach somebody or touch somebody. But you have to always remember that there's somebody so much higher up than you who is the true executive producer, as I've heard a couple people say.
All right, and the game ball goes to Natalie McMillan.